So as far as the transfer of matter in ecosystem is concerned, it can be understood with the help of some cycle like nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, then you have a oxygen cycle and hydrological cycle. So these all the material enters into the ecosystem and it moves out of the ecosystem as well. As far as nitrogen is concerned, whenever the lightning takes place, then nitrogen can get converted into nitrous oxide. It can get converted into nitrous oxide, and when this nitrous oxide also combine with the water, then it will lead to the formation of what is called as nitrogen peroxide. And when this nitrogen peroxide will fall onto the rocks made up of calcium carbonate, that will lead to the formation of nitrate. So this nitrate from the nitrogen can be formed into two different manner. Either they can be formed with the because of the lightning, or the nitrogen also may get fixed by the bacteria as well. So once this nitrate is formed, then this will be taken up by the grasses or the plants. These nitrates will be taken by these grasses and they will convert it into amino acids and proteins. So once this nitrogen, this plant will actually die, then their body will be decomposed by the bacteria, and this nitrate will be decomposed in the form of what is ammonia and ammonia salts. This process is known as ammonification. So if the nitrate get converted into ammonia or ammonia salt, then this process is known as ammonification. These ammonia salt again they can get converted into nitrates by the bacteria. This process is known as nitrification. So this ammonia salt can again get converted into nitrates, and these nitrate can again be taken up by the plant. Then this ammonia gas that may enters again, that may come back to the atmosphere, and when this ammonia will combine with the water, then again it will come back to the soil in the form of ammonia salt. So these ammonia salt then again can be converted into the nitrate by the nitrifying bacteria. So this is what exactly happens. These nitrates also can either be taken up by the plant, or they can be denitrified by the another bacteria. This is called as denitrifying bacteria. So these nitrates can again be denitrified to form the nitrogen. That's how nitrogen goes back to the atmosphere. So this is a nitrogen cycle. Then you have another cycle like carbon dioxide cycle, CO2. Carbon dioxide enters into the ecosystem through the process known as photosynthesis. So this plant will fix this carbon dioxide into the carbohydrates. Some of these carbohydrates that has got itself fixed in the body of these autotrophs. Some of these carbohydrates will be used by these autotrophs for their own respiration, and in this process of respiration, carbon dioxide will again be released into the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide will come into the ecosystem and it will move out of the ecosystem. Then these herbivores also may be eaten by the these autotrophs may be eaten by the herbivores. So these herbivores, then these carbohydrates will get transferred into the body of herbivores. So these herbivores also will respire, and some of these carbohydrates will be will be burned in the process of oxidation, and again they will also release some amount of CO2 uh, through their respiration. So again the CO2 will come back to the atmosphere. Then these herbivores may be eaten by the carnivores. So again these whatever carbohydrates was left in the body of the herbivores, that will be eaten by the carnivores, and out of this what is carbohydrates, some amount of carbohydrates will be used by the carnivores for their own respiration, and through this respiration again they will release some amount of carbon dioxide. Then again these carnivores will die, and once they will die, then they will be decomposed by the decomposers, and in the process of decomposition again some amount of CO2 will be released. So that's how the CO2 enters into the ecosystem, and it will come back to the atmosphere. Then these plants which actually fix this carbon dioxide in the form of carbohydrates, suppose if they get buried inside the earth, then it will lead to the formation of coal, and whenever we will extract this coal and we will burn it, then again the carbon dioxide is going to get released in the atmosphere. Then you have these oceans are also big reservoir of the carbon dioxide, because if the temperature, the lot of carbon dioxide is dissolved into the ocean. That depends upon the temperature of the ocean. The cooler the ocean, the more will be the dissolution of the carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide will be dissolved, and whenever the temperature of the water will increase, then this carbon dioxide will be released back to the atmosphere. So if the global warming takes place, then a lot of carbon dioxide is going to get released by these oceans, which is right now in a dissolved form in the water. So if the global warming will take place, then it will lead to even more global warming, because of the fact that this lot of carbon dioxide will be released by the oceans. So this is some kind of positive feedback mechanism, which is going to aggravate even the problem more. So this is another mechanism through which the carbon dioxide may get released, and this dissolved carbon dioxide also may be extracted may be used by some of the animals living in the oceans like coral. So this will get this carbon dioxide will be deposited in the form of calcium bicarbonate, like the coral reefs. And whenever these rocks will be exposed, then because of the weathering of these rocks, this carbon dioxide is going to get again released in the atmosphere. So this is another cycle, that is carbon cycle. Then you have a hydrological cycle, that is very simple. Hydrological cycle. So let's suppose if you have this oceans, then this water will get evaporated in the ocean, and it will lead to the formation of clouds. These clouds may move towards the land, and here they may make some amount of rain. When the rainfall will take place, then the water will come back into the ocean in the form of surface runoff, or it may also come in the form of underground flow also. Then this water also may get deposited somewhere here in the ponds. Then again, whenever the evaporation will take place, again it will lead to the formation of clouds. This cloud may move towards the ocean, and if they make rain over the ocean, then again this water will come into the ocean. This water also may be taken up by the plants. So when this plant also will release this water through the process known as evapotranspiration. Again, this may lead to the formation of clouds, and whenever this cloud will move over the ocean, again this water will come to the ocean. So this is how it's very simple. This hydrological cycle keep on taking place. Then you have a phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus cycle. This phosphorus basically found in only solid state. Hardly it found in the gaseous state, only when because of the bubble burst in the ocean, phosphorus can be found in a gaseous form. Like whenever the oceans are turbulent, then a lot of bubbles are formed in the ocean. When these bubbles get burst, then this phosphorus is thrown into the atmosphere. Or wherever there is a mine, because of this lot of phosphorus is blown away by the wind. So in these two conditions only the phosphorus can be found in a gaseous form. Otherwise it is most of the time it is found in only in the solid form. So this phosphorus, the flow of actually phosphorus takes place more towards the sea than from the sea towards the land, because whenever you have phosphate rocks, then because of the what is surface runoff, or the surface runoff, this phosphate finds its way to the oceans. Whenever the water moves over these rocks, then a lot of phosphates, these rocks get eroded, and phosphate actually is carried by the surface runoff into the oceans. From the ocean towards the land, it can be moved from the ocean towards the land by two means, either because of the what is called as guano beads, like whenever this guano bird they eat the fishes, and whenever they through they excrete here on the land, then lot of phosphate get deposited over the land. And in the Peru, there is a huge deposit of phosphate because of these guano beads. Then even human being, if we eat the fishes, then this phosphorus will come into his body, and whenever he will excrete or he will die, then this lot of phosphate will get deposited on the land. So that is how actually phosphorus moves from the sea towards the land. And from the soil, this phosphorus can be taken up by the plant, and whenever the plant will die, again it will come back to the soil. So this is how exactly the phosphorus cycle works. Then the last cycle that you have, that is oxygen cycle. Oxygen is the most abundant element found on the Earth's surface. It can be found in both atomic form, it can be found in the molecular form, it can be found in the form of compound as well. So these oxygen first they came into existence because of the photosynthesis. So when the water was broken into hydrogen and oxygen by the plant, then the oxygen came into existence, came into the atmosphere. It can come through the volcanism also, volcanic activity, or it can also come into the atmosphere through the reduction of rocks. So it can come into the atmosphere through the volcanism, or it can come through the reduction of rocks. So because whenever the oxidation takes place of the rocks, then oxygen is consumed, and whenever the reduction takes place, then the oxygen is released. So that's why this comes through these three processes. It can So this is the input of oxygen. Then output of the oxygen is oxygen is used by all the animals for their respiration. So this oxygen is consumed by the for the respiration of animals. Then this oxygen also whenever we burn anything, then the oxygen is consumed. Then this oxygen can also get, there are a lot of oxygen that has got dissolved in the ocean water. So and all the animals living in the oceans, they actually use this oxygen which has got dissolved in the water. So whenever suppose the temperature of ocean increases, then a lot of oxygen also may get released by these oceans. The oxygen that has got dissolved also sometime can get deposited in the form of rocks also. In some rocks also it can get deposited. So whenever these rocks are exposed, then because of the reduction of these rocks, a lot of oxygen also will get released. This is the output of oxygen from the ecosystem. So that's how through this all these cycles the matter enters into the ecosystem and matter moves out of the ecosystem. That is why our ecosystem is considered as an open system, because both energy as well as the matter can be transferred into the ecosystem from the surrounding atmosphere, or it can move out of the ecosystem to the surrounding atmosphere.